Picture this. You wake up tomorrow with complete amnesia. No memory of past failures, rejections, or disappointments. No internal voice whispering, "Remember last time you tried that." How different would your choices be? How bold would you become? What dreams would you pursue if your past couldn't hold you back? That's not fantasy. That's the power of identity. And right now, you're carrying the energetic imprint of every version of yourself that ever felt small, scared, or not enough. You're walking through life wearing invisible chains, forged from moments you couldn't control, decisions that didn't work out, and words that cut deeper than they should have. But here's what's fascinating. Quantum physics tells us that reality responds to observation, and who you are while observing determines what becomes real. So if you're observing life through the lens of past pain, guess what reality keeps delivering? More of the same. It's not punishment. It's precision. The universe is giving you exactly what you're vibrating, not what you're hoping for. Let me ask you something uncomfortable, something that might make you pause and really consider, what emotion do you feel most consistently throughout your day? And I don't mean when something good happens, or when you're deliberately trying to feel better. I mean your baseline, your emotional home base, the feeling that's always humming quietly in the background of your awareness. Is it excitement, gratitude, joy, a sense of anticipation for what's coming next? Or is it more like anxiety, frustration, that low-grade sense that something's always slightly wrong, that feeling of waiting for the other shoe to drop, for things to go sideways, for disappointment to rear its familiar head? Here's the thing most people never realize. Those emotions aren't random. They're not even responses to what's happening around you. They're rehearsed patterns. Emotional habits your nervous system has memorized so deeply that they play automatically. Like background music you've stopped noticing. Your body has become addicted to certain chemical cocktails, stress hormones, worry patterns, the familiar ache of not quite enough. And that emotional background music, that's your vibrational signature. That's what you're broadcasting to the quantum field 24/7. Every cell in your body is like a tiny antenna, transmitting this frequency into the field around you. And the field, being utterly responsive and completely neutral, simply matches what you're putting out. Dr. Joe Dispenza's research reveals something that should shake us all awake. By age 35, 95% of who you are consists of memorized behaviors, emotional reactions, and unconscious habits. In other words, you're not really living. You're replaying. You're a biological recording of your past, playing the same songs over and over while your soul yearns for a new melody. Think about that for a moment. 95%. That means only 5% of your daily experience is actually conscious, present, alive. The rest is just autopilot. Patterns laid down years ago, still running the show. But here's where it gets wild. Bruce Lipton's groundbreaking work shows us that the moment you change your perception, you literally rewrite your body's chemistry, which means who you're being biologically, emotionally, energetically, is actively creating the reality you're experiencing. You're not a victim of your circumstances. You're the architect of your experience, designing from the blueprint of your identity. This is why willpower fails. This is why positive thinking feels hollow. This is why you can visualize all you want, create vision boards, repeat affirmations, and still feel stuck in the same patterns. Because underneath all that effort, your identity, your deepest sense of who you are, hasn't shifted. You're trying to build a new house on an old foundation, and the structure keeps collapsing back into familiar shapes. Think of yourself as a radio tower, constantly broadcasting a signal. That signal isn't your words or your vision board. It isn't what you post on social media or what you tell your friends you want. It's your state of being, your emotional baseline, the energy you carry when no one's watching, when you're alone with your thoughts, when life strips away all the pretense, and you're face to face with who you really believe yourself to be. And the universe, it's like a giant radio, perfectly tuned to whatever frequency you're transmitting. It doesn't judge your signal. It doesn't decide whether you deserve better. It simply responds to what you're putting out, matching it with mathematical precision. You might be saying, I want love. But if your baseline frequency is, I'm not enough, I always get hurt, or good things don't happen to people like me, you'll keep attracting situations that confirm those beliefs. Not because the universe is cruel, but because it's precise. It's not giving you what you think you want. It's giving you exactly what you are. Here's where quantum physics becomes deeply spiritual. Where science meets the sacred, the observer effect tells us that consciousness collapses potential into reality. But here's the twist that changes everything. Who you are while observing determines what collapses from the infinite field of possibilities. Your future self isn't some distant possibility you're trying to reach through years of struggle and self-improvement. They exist right now, in this moment, in a parallel frequency. The version of you who is confident, abundant, loved, healthy, fulfilled. They're as real as the version reading these words. The only thing separating you from them is your vibration. The only distance between here and there is the gap between who you think you are and who you truly are. Neville Goddard, that brilliant mystic, said it perfectly. You don't attract, you select. Every moment, you're selecting from infinite possibilities based on your state of consciousness, and your identity is the selector. Your sense of self is the lens through which reality appears. Close your eyes for a moment. Take a deep breath and let yourself imagine infinite versions of you existing simultaneously across the multiverse. One version is thriving in perfect health, their body vibrant and alive. Another is in their dream relationship, experiencing love that feels both passionate and peaceful. Another has achieved financial freedom, able to give generously and live without the stress of money worries. Another radiates unshakable confidence, speaking their truth without fear, creating the change they want to see in the world. These aren't fantasies. These aren't just wishful thinking or spiritual bypassing. According to quantum mechanics, they're real. The multiverse isn't science fiction. It's science fact. Every possibility, every potential timeline, every version of you exists simultaneously in the quantum field. Your job isn't to create these versions of yourself. Your job is to become vibrationally compatible with the one you want to experience. You don't build your future self. You tune into them. You don't manifest your dreams. You align with the timeline where they're already real. But here's what stops most people. They try to reach their future self from their current identity. They try to stretch who they are now, to grab hold of who they could become. But that's not how quantum mechanics works. That's not how consciousness operates. You don't extend from your limitations. You collapse into your truth. Let's try something right now. Imagine the version of you who already lives your desired reality walking into this room. Not as a stranger, not as someone you have to become, but as someone you're remembering. Feel their presence. Notice how they carry themselves. The ease in their shoulders, the clarity in their eyes, the quiet confidence in their voice that comes not from arrogance, but from alignment. They don't need to convince anyone of anything. They don't need to prove their worth or defend their choices. They simply radiate truth. They've stopped arguing with reality and started dancing with it. They've released the need to be right about their limitations and embraced the possibility of being wrong about them. Look closer at this version of yourself. See how they breathe. Deeper, slower, like they have all the time in the world, because they trust the timing of their life. Notice how they speak, with less urgency, less need to fill the silence, because they're comfortable in their own presence. Watch how they move through the world, not rushing towards something they lack, but flowing with what they are. Now ask them, what did you have to release to become this free? And listen, not with your mind, but with your heart. What whispers back to you? What stories did they stop telling themselves? What identities did they outgrow? What pain did they finally allow to heal, instead of carrying it like a badge of honor? Because here's the secret that spiritual teachers have known for millennia. Your higher self isn't built by adding more. It's revealed by subtracting, peeling away layers of conditioning, pain, and limiting beliefs until only essence remains. You don't become someone new. You remember who you've always been underneath all the programming. The caterpillar doesn't try to become a butterfly. It dissolves completely in the chrysalis, releases its old form entirely, and allows something that was always encoded in its DNA to emerge. The butterfly was always there, waiting. The caterpillar just had to surrender who it thought it was. Here's where transformation becomes real, where we move beyond understanding into embodiment. We're going to do more than discuss this. We're going to experience it. Because no amount of information, no matter how profound, will change your life until it becomes integrated into your nervous system, until it shifts from knowing to being. First, give your current identity a name, not to shame it or judge it, but to recognize it as a pattern rather than the truth of who you are. Maybe it's the doubter, the perfectionist, the one who always settles, the anxious one, the people pleaser. Whatever captures the energy of who you've been, don't overthink it. Let the name arise naturally. This identity served you once. It kept you safe when safety was what you needed most. It helped you navigate a world that felt unpredictable or hostile. It was your survival strategy, your coping mechanism, your way of making sense of experiences that didn't make sense. Honor it for what it was, a temporary costume for a temporary chapter of your life. Now visualize yourself carrying this old identity like a heavy backpack, like luggage you've been dragging through airports for years. Feel its weight on your shoulders, the way it slows your steps and curves your spine. This is the energetic burden you've been carrying, not just your own pain, but generations of pain, cultural conditioning, inherited limitations that were never yours to begin with. See yourself stopping on this journey, setting the weight down, unstrapping the backpack of old beliefs, unpacking the suitcase of past hurts. Feel your spine straightening, your breath deepening, as you release what was never meant to be permanent. Thank this old version of yourself. Speak to it with the compassion you would show a child who did their best with what they had. Say, thank you for protecting me. Thank you for keeping me alive. But I no longer need this kind of protection. I'm safe to be who I really am now. Then turn and walk away. Feel the lightness in your body, the space that opens up when you're no longer carrying the weight of who you used to be. This isn't abandonment, it's graduation. You're not rejecting your past, you're integrating its lessons and moving forward unburdened. Now stand up. Right now, wherever you are, assume the posture of your highest self. Not performed or forced, but natural. How would they breathe? From their belly, slow and deep. How would they hold their head? Lifted, eyes soft but clear. How would they position their shoulders? Relaxed, open, no longer protecting against attacks that aren't coming. Feel this new alignment in your body. This isn't pretending. This is remembering. This is what you feel like when you're not defending, when you're not afraid, when you're not trying to be anything other than what you are. Place your hand on your heart and feel it beating. This heart has been with you through everything, every triumph and tragedy, every moment of joy and despair. It has never stopped working for you, never given up on you, even when you gave up on yourself. Let it anchor you in this moment of choice. Now speak these words, not as a mantra to repeat mindlessly, but as a declaration of truth. I release who I was to become who I am. Feel the vibration of those words in your chest. Say them again. I release who I was to become who I am. Let them resonate in your bones, your blood, your DNA. This is more than affirmation. This is activation. When you truly shift your identity at this cellular level, reality doesn't slowly adapt over months and years. It reorganizes, sometimes gradually, sometimes suddenly. At first, you might notice subtle changes. A thought you've never had before. A feeling of lightness you can't explain. A sense that something fundamental has shifted even though everything looks the same. Then the external signs begin to appear. A person reaching out unexpectedly with exactly the opportunity you've been seeking. A solution to a long-standing problem suddenly becoming obvious. A feeling of being in the right place at the right time, as if the universe is conspiring to support your new trajectory. This isn't coincidence. This is coherence. When your inner world aligns, when your thoughts, emotions, and actions become consistent with your true nature, your outer world must follow. It's not magic, it's mathematics. It's the natural consequence of shifting from resistance to reception, from contradiction to coherence. But here's where most people stumble. They do this work once and expect permanent change. They experience a moment of clarity or breakthrough and then wonder why the old patterns creep back in. Understanding this process is crucial for lasting transformation. Your nervous system has been running old programs for years, maybe decades. It's going to take consistent practice to install new software. Every morning becomes a choice point. Every moment of stress becomes an opportunity to choose differently. Every time fear arises, you get to decide, will I respond from my old identity or my true one? This is your daily practice, your sacred work. Before the world crashes in with its demands and distractions, before you check your phone or start your to-do list, ask yourself, which version of me will I choose to be today? Not as a performance for others, but as a gift to yourself. Which frequency will you embody? Which timeline will you align with? Because every moment is a choice between your old self and your true self, between fear and love, between limitation and expansion, between the story of who you were and the truth of who you are. The old patterns will come knocking. They'll show up as familiar emotions, triggered responses, the voice that says, who do you think you are? Or this won't last? Or you're setting yourself up for disappointment. When they do, don't fight them. Don't judge yourself for their appearance. Simply recognize them as old programming and choose again. This work isn't just personal. It's planetary. Every person who breaks free from their old identity patterns creates a ripple in the collective consciousness. You're not just changing your life. You're contributing to a species-wide awakening. Every time you choose love over fear, expansion over contraction, truth over conditioning, you make it easier for others to do the same. The morphic field that Rupert Sheldrake describes means that once enough people embody a new way of being, it becomes accessible to everyone. Your healing doesn't just heal you, it heals your family lineage, your community, the collective human experience. Your liberation liberates more than just yourself. So here's my invitation to you. If this message has stirred something deep within you, if you feel that familiar tingling of recognition, if some part of you is saying, yes, this is what I've been searching for, don't just consume this content, embody it. Don't just understand these concepts, live them. The transformation you seek is not found in more information, more courses, more techniques. It's found in the willingness to stop being who you've always been, and to start being who you've always been, underneath who you've always been. Comment below, my old self has been released, not as a social media trend, but as an energetic declaration to the universe that you're no longer available for the past. Let it be your signature in the quantum field, your vote for a new reality, your commitment to a new way of being. And if you're ready to dive deeper into this frequency, to be part of a community that's actively collapsing old timelines and stepping into quantum possibilities, then subscribe. Not just to stay informed, but to stay transformed. Because this journey is easier when you're surrounded by others who understand what you're going through, who can witness your growth and reflect back your truth when you forget it. You are not your history. You are not your past mistakes. You are not the voice in your head that says you're not ready, not worthy, not enough. You are not the child who was hurt, the teenager who felt rejected, the young adult who made choices from fear instead of love. You are pure consciousness, temporarily wearing the costume of a human experience. You are the observer behind the observed, the awareness in which all experiences arise and pass away. You are the space in which thoughts appear, the silence between words, the stillness that remains when everything else changes. And you get to choose in every moment which costume you put on, which identity you embody, which version of reality you collapse from the infinite field of possibilities. The version of you that lives your dreams isn't coming. They're not waiting for you to get your act together, to heal all your wounds, to become perfect enough to deserve the life you desire. They're here. They're present. They're ready. They exist right now in the quantum field, in a frequency just slightly different from where you currently reside. The only question is, are you ready to meet them? Are you willing to release who you think you are to become who you truly are? Are you prepared to trade the familiar pain of your limitations for the unfamiliar joy of your freedom? The old you has served its purpose. It brought you to this moment, this realization, this choice point. It was never meant to be permanent. It was meant to be a bridge, and bridges are for crossing, not for living on. The new you, your authentic self, your true nature, your quantum identity, is already writing the next chapter. They're already living the life you've been dreaming of. They're already embodying the love, abundance, health, and purpose you seek. And reality, it's listening, it's responding, it's rearranging itself around your new frequency, even as you read these words. The field is malleable, responsive, alive. It's not waiting for you to deserve better. It's waiting for you to vibrate differently. Welcome to your quantum identity reset. Welcome to who you've always been underneath all the programming, conditioning, and pain. Welcome to the version of you that's been waiting patiently in the wings for permission to step onto the stage of your life. The field is waiting. Your future self is waiting. The life you've been seeking is waiting. What are you waiting for?
Good evening, my friends. Tonight I am going to tell you something so radical, so utterly transformative, that if you truly grasp it, you will never see yourself or your world the same way again. You have never lived, and you will never die. I can see the confusion in your faces. But Neville, you're thinking, I am clearly alive. I breathe, I think. I experience. How can you say I've never lived? And that is precisely the point I am going to illuminate tonight. What you call living, what you believe is your life, is not life at all. It is consciousness experiencing itself through the lens of individuality. It is the infinite imagining itself as the finite. It is God dreaming that He is you. And if you have never truly lived as a separate, independent being, then you can never truly die. For what never began cannot end. What was never born cannot perish. You are not a body that has consciousness. You are consciousness that is dreaming itself as a body. Tonight I will take you deep into the nature of consciousness itself. I will show you that the entire world you perceive, everything you call out there, exists nowhere but within you. And I will prove to you that you are not in the universe. The universe is in you. Let me begin by shattering the fundamental illusion that has imprisoned humanity since the beginning of time. The illusion that you are separate from the world you perceive. You believe you are a small being, a tiny consciousness, trapped inside a body, moving through a vast external world. You believe you were born on a certain date, that you will live for a certain number of years, and that eventually you will die and cease to exist. This belief is the root of all suffering, all fear, all sense of limitation, and it is completely, utterly, fundamentally false. The truth is this: you are not inside the world is inside you. You are not a fragment of consciousness experiencing a vast external reality. You are consciousness itself, and everything you perceive as external to you exists entirely within your own awareness. Think about this carefully. Right now you believe you are sitting in a room, in a building, in a city, on a planet, in a universe. But let me ask you, where are you actually experiencing this room? Where is this experience happening? Stop for a moment and really consider this. You think the room is out there, separate from you? But is it? Have you ever stepped outside of your own experience to verify that the room exists independently? The answer is no, you cannot. Everything you know about this room, you know through your experience of it. The sights, the sounds, the feeling of the chair beneath you. All of this is happening in one place in your experience, in your awareness, in what we call consciousness. Let me make this simpler. When you see a tree, where does that seeing happen? You might say the tree is outside. But the actual experience of seeing the tree, the image of the tree, the greenness of its leaves, the sense of it being there, all of that is happening inside your awareness, not outside of it. You have never, not even once in your entire life, experienced anything outside of your own awareness. Every sound you've ever heard, you heard within your awareness. Every touch you felt within your awareness. Every sight, every smell, every taste, all of it happened within the field of your own experience. Think about it this way. If you are not aware of something, does it exist for you? If you cannot see it, hear it, touch it, taste it, smell it, or think about it, does it exist in your experience? No. For something to exist in your world, you must be aware of it. This means everything in your world, everything you call reality, exists within your awareness, not outside of it. The room is not separate from your experience of the room. The people are not separate from your experience of the people. The entire world you perceive exists as your experience of it, within your awareness. Now here is where it gets profound. What you call out there is actually in here. What you think is external to you is actually internal to you. Not internal to your body, but internal to your awareness, to your consciousness, to the experiencing of life itself. You are not a person inside a room. You are the awareness in which the experience of being a person in a room appears. You are not separate from your world. You are the field of awareness in which the entire world appears. This is not poetry or mysticism. This is simply observing what is actually true about your experience. You have never stepped outside of your awareness. You have never touched anything that wasn't an experience within consciousness. You have never been separate from your world, because your world exists as your awareness of it. And if this is true, if everything you experience exists within your awareness, then changing your world is not about manipulating external things. It's about changing your awareness itself. Change what you are aware of. Change how you are aware, and your entire world must change, because your world is your awareness. Let me illustrate this with an analogy that will make it clear. Think about your dreams at night. When you dream, you create entire worlds. You populate them with people. You experience events, emotions, sensations. The dream feels completely real while you are in it. Now, where does that dream take place? Not in some external location. It takes place entirely within your consciousness. The people in your dream are not separate beings. They are aspects of your own consciousness appearing as separate characters. The world of the dream is not outside of you. It is you expressing as a dream. When you wake up, you realize this immediately. You understand that the entire dream was your consciousness creating and experiencing itself. Nothing in the dream had independent existence. It was all you. Now here is the truth that will transform everything. Your waking life operates by exactly the same principle. This life you are living right now, this world you perceive as solid and external, is no different from a dream. It is consciousness, your consciousness, creating and experiencing itself. The only difference between your nighttime dreams and your waking dream is that the waking dream is more stable, more consistent, more convincing. But it is a dream nonetheless, and you are not a character in the dream. You are the dreamer. You are not John or Mary or whoever you believe yourself to be. That is a character, a role, a temporary expression. The real you is the consciousness that is dreaming this entire experience into being. And if you are the dreamer, not the dream, then you have never been born, and you can never die, because the dreamer exists before the dream, during the dream, and after the dream. The dreamer is eternal, infinite, unchanging consciousness. Now let me go deeper into the nature of consciousness itself, because this is the foundation of everything I teach. Consciousness is not something you have. Consciousness is what you are, and consciousness is all that exists. There is nothing outside of consciousness. There is nothing other than consciousness. Everything that appears to exist, everything you perceive as matter or energy or space or time, is simply consciousness appearing as these things. Science tells you that matter is solid, that the world is made of atoms and molecules and physical stuff. But quantum physics has discovered something extraordinary. When you look closely at matter, it dissolves into energy. And when you look closely at energy, it dissolves into probability waves. And when you look closely at probability waves, they collapse into existence only when they are observed by consciousness. Matter is not the foundation of reality. Consciousness is the foundation of reality. Matter is simply how consciousness appears when it takes form. You are not a physical being having a spiritual experience. You are consciousness itself, temporarily forgetting your true nature and experiencing yourself as a physical being. And here is what this means for your life. If consciousness is all that exists, and you are consciousness, then you are all that exists. Not your ego, not your personality, not the character you play in this dream, but the consciousness that you are, the awareness that is aware of all experience, that is the only reality. Everything else, every single thing you perceive as outside of you, is consciousness appearing as outside, but remaining always inside, always within the one infinite awareness that you are. Let me make this intensely practical. Every person you meet, every situation you encounter, every circumstance you experience exists in one place and one place only, in your consciousness. When you interact with another person, you are not actually interacting with an independent being outside of you. You are interacting with your consciousness of that person. When you see a tree, you are not seeing an external tree. You are experiencing your consciousness appearing as a tree. This is why I teach that everyone is you pushed out, because there is no out there separate from you. There is only consciousness, and you are that consciousness. And everything you experience is that consciousness taking form. Think about what this means. If the world is your consciousness externalized, then changing your world does not require you to manipulate external circumstances. It requires you to change your consciousness. Change your consciousness, and the world must change, because the world is consciousness. If you are experiencing poverty, it is because poverty exists in your consciousness. If you are experiencing illness, it is because illness exists in your consciousness. If you are experiencing loneliness, it is because loneliness exists in your consciousness. But here is the liberating truth. If these conditions exist in your consciousness, you can change them in there. And when you change them in consciousness, they must change in your experience, because consciousness is the only reality. You are not powerless before external circumstances. You are the creator of circumstances through your consciousness. You are not subject to the world. The world is subject to you because the world is you. Now let us return to the profound statement that opened this lecture. You have never lived and you will never die. What I mean is this: the consciousness that you are has never been born and can never cease to be. Consciousness is eternal. It has no beginning and no end. It exists before all time and after all time. It is the ground of all being, the source of all existence. The body you inhabit will be born and will die. The personality you express will come into being and will fade away. The character you play in this dream will have a beginning and an end. But these are not you. These are experiences within consciousness, appearances within awareness. The real you, the consciousness that is aware of the body, aware of the personality, aware of the character, that consciousness has never begun and will never end. Think about your own experience. Can you remember a time when you did not exist? Not when your body did not exist, but when you, the awareness, the consciousness did not exist. You cannot. Because consciousness has always been. It is the eternal witness, the unchanging awareness in which all experience arises and passes away. And can you imagine a future in which you, the awareness, will cease to exist? Can you conceive of consciousness ending? You cannot. Because consciousness is eternal. It does not end. It cannot end. It is the very ground of existence itself. What you call death is simply the end of one dream and the beginning of another. It is consciousness withdrawing from one form and expressing through another. It is the dreamer waking from one dream and entering another. But the dreamer never dies. The consciousness never ceases. You, the real you, the eternal awareness, continue forever because you have existed forever. Here is another profound truth about consciousness. Time is an illusion created within consciousness. Time does not exist outside of it. There is no past, no future, only the eternal now of awareness. When you remember the past, where does that memory exist? In the present moment of consciousness. When you imagine the future, where does that imagination exist? In the present moment of consciousness. All of time, past, present, and future, exists only in the eternal now of awareness. This is why I teach that you can revise the past. Because the past is not a fixed reality existing somewhere outside of consciousness. The past is a present memory, and present memories can be changed. Let me reveal to you an even deeper mystery. Not only is the world within you, not only are you eternal consciousness, but there is only one consciousness. There is only one awareness. There is only one I am. You believe you are separate from other people, that there are billions of individual consciousnesses, all experiencing their own separate realities. But this is the grandest illusion of all. There is only one consciousness experiencing itself as many. There is only one awareness appearing as billions of individual awarenesses. There is only one I am speaking through every mouth, looking through every eye, experiencing through every body. When you look at another person, you are not looking at someone separate from you. You are looking at yourself in disguise. You are the one consciousness looking at itself through different eyes. And if there is only one consciousness and you are that consciousness, then you are not a small separate being living in a vast universe. You are the entire universe dreaming itself as a small separate being. You are not in the world is in you. You are not one among many. You are the one appearing as many. You are not a part of God. You are God pretending to be a part. Now, what does it mean to live from this understanding? How does your life change when you realize that you have never been born and will never die? That the entire world exists within you? That you are infinite consciousness temporarily dreaming itself as finite form? First, all fear dissolves. What is there to fear when you are eternal? What can threaten you when you are infinite? What can harm you when you are the consciousness in which all harm appears? Death becomes meaningless. Not because you will live forever in this body, but because the consciousness you are has never been born and cannot die. The body will perish, but you are not the body. You are the awareness in which the body appears. Second, all limitation dissolves. If the world is within you, if circumstances are your consciousness externalized, then you can change anything by changing your consciousness. There are no external barriers, no real obstacles, no genuine limitations. There is only consciousness and its infinite creative power. Third, all separation dissolves. You realize that every person you meet is yourself in disguise, that every enemy is yourself wearing a mask, that every stranger is yourself pretending not to recognize yourself. This creates a profound sense of unity, of love, of compassion for all beings, because you realize that in hurting another, you hurt yourself. In loving another, you love yourself. In seeing another as separate, you forget yourself. So how do you live from this truth? How do you maintain awareness that you are infinite consciousness, not a limited body? The practice is simple but profound. Remember, throughout your day, pause and remember. Remember that you are not this body. Remember that you are not this personality. Remember that you are the consciousness in which all experience arises. When you look at the world, remember that you are not looking at something external. You are looking at your own consciousness appearing as the world. When you encounter a challenge, remember that you are not a small being facing a big problem. You are infinite consciousness experiencing a temporary appearance of limitation. When you feel fear or anxiety, remember that you are eternal. Nothing can threaten the consciousness that you are. When you feel separate from others, remember that there is only one consciousness, and you are that consciousness experiencing itself as many. This remembering is the greatest spiritual practice. Not to achieve something you lack, but to remember what you already are. Not to become enlightened, but to recognize that you are enlightenment itself, temporarily pretending to be unenlightened. My friends, I invite you tonight to consider the possibility that everything I have said is literally, actually, completely true. Not as metaphor, not as poetry, not as philosophy, but as the direct description of reality. You have never lived because the consciousness you are was never born. You will never die because consciousness is eternal. The world is not outside of you. The world is inside you within consciousness. You are not in the universe. The universe is in you. And if this is true, if you are infinite consciousness temporarily dreaming itself as finite form, then what becomes possible? Everything. Absolutely everything. Because you are not subject to the laws of the physical world. You are the consciousness that creates those laws. You are not limited by circumstances. You are the consciousness that creates circumstances. You are not powerless before the world. You are the creative power that manifests as the world. This is your true identity. This is what you actually are. Not the small, separate, limited being you believe yourself to be, but infinite, eternal, all-powerful consciousness itself. And when you truly know this, when you live from this understanding, when you remember this truth in every moment, then you become what you have always been, the conscious creator of your reality. The dreamer of your dream, the infinite expressing as the finite. You have never lived in the sense you thought. And you will never die, because you are consciousness itself, eternal and infinite, dreaming the dream of separation and one day awakening to your true nature. The world is not outside. The world is inside. You are not in consciousness. Consciousness is all there is, appearing as you, appearing as me, appearing as everything. This is the deepest truth I can share with you. Meditate upon it, contemplate it, test it in your experience, and gradually you will awaken from the dream of separation into the reality of unity, from the illusion of limitation into the truth of infinite creative power. You are consciousness. You have always been consciousness. You will always be consciousness. And consciousness is all that is, all that has ever been, and all that will ever be. Thank you. And good evening. As always, thank you for joining me on this journey into the depths of consciousness. Remember, you are not here by accident. You are here because your soul is ready for this truth. Take these teachings and let them transform not just your mind, but your entire reality. Until we meet again in consciousness, keep assuming your greatness and living from the end of your desires. This is Best of Lectures, and I'll see you in the next video.
What if I told you that the very moment you change your relationship with money, money changes its relationship with you? What if everything you've been taught about wealth has been backwards? Stay with me, because in the next few minutes, I'm going to share something that completely transformed not just my bank account, but my entire understanding of abundance. And it might just transform yours too. Now, you might not immediately think of money as spiritual, but imagine this. What if money is simply energy in motion? What if it's the universe expressing its infinite abundance through a form you can understand and use? I want you to think about electricity for a moment. You can't see electricity itself, but you can see its effects. Lights turning on, devices powering up, energy flowing through circuits. Money works the same way. It's invisible energy made visible, consciousness expressing itself in physical form. When you truly understand this, everything changes. When you spend money, you're not losing something. You're directing energy. You're choosing where to send the flow of universal abundance. Each purchase becomes a conscious vote for the kind of world you want to create. And this is where most people get it completely wrong. They see money as scarce, as something finite that must be hoarded and protected. But energy, by its very nature, must flow. When you dam up a river, it eventually finds another way to flow. When you hoard money out of fear, you're actually blocking the very flow that would bring you more. Here's something that changed my entire perspective. I started treating money like breath. You don't hold your breath out of fear that there won't be more air available. You breathe in, you breathe out, trusting completely that the next breath will be there. Money works the same way. It's meant to flow in and flow out in a natural rhythm of receiving and giving. Now I want you to picture yourself standing by a river, not just any river, but an endless river of abundance that has been flowing since the beginning of time. This river doesn't judge your past financial mistakes or worry about your future fears. It doesn't care about your credit score or your current bank balance. It simply flows, carrying unlimited wealth, unlimited opportunities, unlimited possibilities. But here's the million-dollar question. Why isn't everyone wealthy if this flow is so abundant? The answer lies not in the river itself, but in how you connect with this flow. Think of it this way. The river is always there, always flowing, but your connection to it depends entirely on your inner state. When you're open, confident, and assume abundance is your natural birthright, you align with the flow. When you're closed off by fear, doubt, or beliefs in limitation, you create resistance that blocks the flow. It's not punishment. It's simply how consciousness works. The universe doesn't withhold abundance from you. You withhold yourself from abundance through your beliefs and mental patterns. I learned this lesson the hard way. For years, I stood by this river of abundance, but couldn't drink from it because I was convinced I wasn't worthy, that I had to earn it through struggle and sacrifice. The moment I realized that worthiness isn't something you earn, but something you are, everything began to shift. Let me share something deeply personal with you. I used to have what I call a poverty consciousness. Money felt heavy, complicated, always just out of reach. I would lie awake at night, calculating bills, worried about the future, carrying this constant undercurrent of financial anxiety. Sound familiar? But then something remarkable happened. I began to see money not as my master or my enemy, but as energy that responds to my inner state. Just like a tuning fork vibrates at a specific frequency and causes other tuning forks to resonate at the same frequency, your thoughts and feelings about money create a vibrational signature that either attracts or repels financial opportunities. And the transformation starts with one simple but profound shift. Stop seeing money as something outside of yourself that you need to chase, compete for, or struggle to obtain. Start seeing it as energy that naturally flows towards states of gratitude, confidence, joy, and abundance. Here's a practice that changed everything for me. Every morning before I even get out of bed, I spend 5 minutes feeling grateful for money itself. Not just the money I have, but money as a concept, as energy, as a tool for good in the world. I thank money for all the ways it serves humanity, funding hospitals, supporting artists, feeding families, enabling innovations that make life better. This isn't just positive thinking, it's energetic alignment. When you appreciate money's true purpose and value, you become someone that money wants to work with. Right now, pause and ask yourself, what do I really believe about money? Do I see it as limited? Do I believe I have to work harder than everyone else to have it? Do I think wealthy people are somehow fundamentally different from me? Do I feel guilty about wanting more money? These beliefs aren't just thoughts floating around in your head. They're instructions you're giving to your subconscious mind about what to create in your experience. Your subconscious mind is like the most sophisticated computer ever created, and it's programmed by your beliefs. But here's how you change the game. You start by becoming aware of these limiting programs, then consciously choose to install new ones. Instead of money is hard to come by, try money flows to me easily and naturally. Instead of I'm not good with money, try I'm becoming wiser and more skillful with money every day. Feel the difference in your body when you say each version. Your body is a sophisticated guidance system that will tell you which beliefs serve your highest good. Now let's go deeper. Many of our money beliefs aren't even our own. They're inherited from our families, our culture, our past experiences. I want you to imagine that every limiting belief about money you've ever had was like a dam in that river of abundance I mentioned earlier. Each inherited belief, money doesn't grow on trees, rich people are greedy, you have to work hard for money, I don't deserve wealth, creates a block in the flow. Now imagine what happens when you consciously choose to remove those dams. The river flows freely again. But here's the crucial part. You have to actively choose to remove them. No one else can do this inner work for you. Start by questioning each belief. Is this serving me? Is this creating the financial life I want? Where did this belief come from? If it's not serving you, it's time to let it go and replace it with something that does. Here's where visualization comes into play. Visualization isn't about pretending or wishful thinking. It's about using your imagination to align your inner state with your desired outer reality. Your subconscious mind doesn't distinguish between vividly imagined experiences and actual experiences. This is why athletes use visualization to improve performance, and why you can use it to improve your financial life. But most people visualize incorrectly. They focus only on the external, the big house, the fancy car, the numbers in the bank account. While these images can be helpful, they're not the most powerful part of visualization. The real power lies in feeling the emotions you would experience in your desired financial state. When you visualize financial freedom, don't just see the numbers. Feel the peace that comes with financial security. Feel the joy of being able to help others generously. Feel the freedom to make choices based on what you love rather than what you fear. There's a secret most visualization teachers won't tell you. It's not about forcing the universe to give you what you want. It's about becoming the person who naturally attracts and maintains what you desire. Now, here's my visualization technique that has transformed my life. Every night before sleep, I spend 10 minutes imagining myself 1 year from now having achieved my financial goals. But I don't just see the external results. I feel into the person I've become. How do I carry myself? How do I make decisions? How do I interact with money? How do I feel about myself? This practice doesn't just help manifest financial goals. It literally rewires your brain to think, feel, and act like the financially successful person you're becoming. And get crystal clear about what financial freedom means to you personally. Vague desires create vague results. Saying I want more money is like saying I want to go somewhere without specifying where. The universe responds to clarity and specificity. So what does financial freedom mean to you? Is it having 6 months of expenses saved? Is it earning enough to support your family comfortably while also having time for what matters most? Is it having the freedom to travel, to give generously, to start that business you've been dreaming about? But setting intentions is not enough. And this is where most people stop. They set the goal but don't align their entire being with that intention. Your financial intentions need to be supported not just by actions, but by a complete transformation of your identity. True intention is about becoming the person who naturally creates and maintains the financial reality you desire. It's about aligning your thoughts, feelings, beliefs, and actions with your vision. I've learned to treat my financial intentions as sacred contracts, both with myself and with life itself. When you approach your goals with this level of reverence and commitment, you tap into a power that goes far beyond willpower or positive thinking. One practice that has been truly transformative for me is writing my financial intentions not just as goals, but as prayers. I don't simply ask for money. I ask for the wisdom to use it well, for opportunities to serve others through my wealth, and for the character to handle abundance with grace and generosity. This transforms money from something you want to get in to something you want to become worthy of receiving. There's a profound difference between desperate action and inspired action. And understanding this difference will revolutionize your financial life. Desperate action comes from fear. I have to make money or else something terrible will happen. This energy repels opportunities because it carries the vibration of lack and desperation. Inspired action comes from alignment. I feel called to take this step because it feels right and expansive. This energy attracts opportunities because it carries the vibration of confidence and abundance. Trust your intuition more than your fears. That nudge to learn a new skill, to reach out to someone you haven't spoken to in years, to invest in yourself, to start that side project. These aren't random thoughts. They're your inner wisdom guiding you toward your financial goals. And here's how you know the difference. Inspired action feels expansive, even if it's challenging or scary. You feel energized by the possibility, even if you're not sure how it will work out. Desperate action feels contractive and draining. You feel like you're pushing against resistance, forcing something that doesn't want to happen. I've learned to make inspired action a daily practice. Each morning, after my gratitude and visualization practice, I ask myself what action feels most aligned and inspired today. Then I trust whatever comes up, even if it seems small or unrelated to my financial goals. Some of my biggest financial breakthroughs have come from following these subtle inner promptings. The business partnership that transformed my income came from a random urge to attend a networking event I almost didn't go to. The investment opportunity that doubled my savings came from a conversation I had while standing in line at a coffee shop. Now let's talk about fear. Because if you're human, you felt fear around money, fear about not having enough, fear about losing what you have, fear about not being worthy of more. These fears are ancient and deep, rooted in our survival instincts. But they don't have to control your financial future. When fear arises, don't fight it or try to think positive thoughts to push it away. Instead, get curious about it. Fear about money is often fear about something much deeper. Fear about your safety, your worth, your ability to survive and thrive in the world. Acknowledge the fear. I notice I'm feeling afraid about money right now. This fear is trying to protect me, but it's based on old programming that no longer serves me. Then choose a different thought. I am safe. I am provided for. I am worthy of abundance. And here's what I learned about fear that changed everything. Fear isn't your enemy. It's information. It's showing you where you still believe in limitation instead of abundance, where you still carry old wounds that need healing. I used to let financial fear paralyze me, keeping me stuck in jobs I hated and situations that felt safe but stifling. Now I use fear as a compass, pointing me toward the areas where I need to grow and expand. Every time you feel fear around money and choose to act from love and abundance anyway, you literally rewire your nervous system. You teach your body that it's safe to be abundant, safe to receive, safe to expand beyond your comfort zone. Money isn't good or evil. It's neutral energy that amplifies your intentions and values. When you honor money's true value as a tool for good, for freedom, for service, you create a healthy and empowering relationship with it. This means treating money with the respect it deserves, not hoarding it out of fear, not spending it carelessly or unconsciously, but using it as a conscious tool to create the life and impact you desire. Think about this. Money is stored human energy. Every dollar represents someone's time, creativity, and life force. When you honor this, you honor the interconnectedness of all life, the web of giving and receiving that sustains our world. And this brings us to something most people never consider. What if your financial success isn't just about you? What if you're meant to be a conduit for abundance, not just for your own benefit, but for the benefit of everyone whose life you touch? I've noticed that the wealthiest, most fulfilled people I know don't see money as something to accumulate for its own sake. They see themselves as stewards of abundance, using their wealth to create positive impact in the world. This shift in perspective, from personal accumulation to sacred stewardship, has been one of the most powerful transformations in my financial journey. When you see yourself as a channel for good, money flows to you more easily because it knows it will be used wisely and lovingly. You don't have to figure out your financial path alone, whether you call it intuition, higher self, divine guidance, or simply your wisest inner knowing. There's a wisdom available to you that sees beyond your current circumstances and limitations. This wisdom knows opportunities you haven't yet seen, connections you haven't yet made, possibilities you haven't yet imagined. Learning to access and trust this guidance is one of the most valuable financial skills you can develop. Ask for guidance, not just on specific investments or business decisions, but on how to align your entire financial life with your highest purpose. Pray for wisdom, for clarity, for the courage to act on your inner knowing. And here's where it gets really interesting. When you align your financial goals with your soul's purpose, You tap into a power that goes far beyond your personal will and effort. You become part of a larger flow of good that wants to express itself through you. I've learned to start each day by asking, how can I use money to serve love today? This simple question has guided me toward opportunities I never would have discovered through strategic thinking alone. Sometimes the guidance comes as a sudden knowing, sometimes as a feeling of excitement about a particular direction, sometimes as doors that open or close in unexpected ways. The key is to stay open, stay present, and trust that you're being guided toward your highest good. Your relationship with money is ultimately your relationship with life itself, with your own creative power, with your ability to give and receive love. When you see money as a sacred partner in creating good in the world, rather than as your master or your enemy, everything changes. Money becomes a tool for expressing your deepest values, supporting your most cherished dreams, and serving others in meaningful ways. It becomes a way to vote for the kind of world you want to live in, with every purchase, investment, and gift. This sacred partnership requires mutual respect. You honor money by using it consciously and wisely. Money honors you by flowing to you in increasing abundance as you prove yourself to be a good steward of its power. And this brings us to the most important lesson of all. True wealth isn't about accumulating, it's about flowing. When you give generously and receive gracefully, when you see yourself as part of an infinite circulation of good, you become a channel through which the universe's abundance can flow. This doesn't mean giving beyond your means or receiving with guilt. It means recognizing that you are part of an infinite flow of giving and receiving, and the more fully you participate in that flow, the more abundant all areas of your life become. The circle of giving and receiving is one of the most fundamental patterns in the universe. Breathe in, breathe out. Tides flow in, tides flow out. Energy moves through endless cycles of expansion and contraction. When you align your relationship with money with this natural rhythm, you tap into the very heartbeat of creation itself. Now here's what I want you to remember as we come to the end of our time together. Your current financial situation is not your permanent reality. It's simply a reflection of your past thoughts, beliefs, and actions around money. And if it's a reflection of the past, that means it can be changed by creating new thoughts, beliefs, and actions in the present. The moment you truly understand that you are not a victim of circumstances, but a creator of experiences, everything begins to shift. You move from hoping things will get better to knowing you have the power to make them better. And if you're ready to change that reflection, to step into a new financial reality, start today with one simple practice from everything we've discussed. Choose the one that resonated most deeply with you. Maybe it's the morning gratitude practice. Maybe it's the evening visualization. Maybe it's simply treating every financial interaction as sacred. Commit to this practice for the next 30 days, not because you have to, but because you're excited to discover who you become when you consistently align your inner world with abundance. Because here's the ultimate truth that will transform your financial life. You are not chasing abundance. Abundance is seeking you. It has been seeking you your entire life. Your only job is to remove the blocks that prevent you from receiving it, to become a clear channel for its flow, to align yourself with its generous and infinite nature. Your financial transformation isn't just about you. It's about what becomes possible in the world when you step into your full power as a creator, as a steward, as a channel for good. The world needs your gifts, your service, your unique contribution, and it wants to support you abundantly as you share those gifts. The sacred art of money manifestation isn't really about manifesting money at all. It's about manifesting the highest version of yourself, the version that naturally attracts, creates, and maintains abundance in all its forms. Remember, you are not separate from abundance. You are abundance expressing itself in human form. Act like it. Think like it. Feel like it. Become it.
Good evening, my friends. Tonight I want to speak to you about the most powerful force in the universe, a force you possess right now, a force you're using every moment, whether you realize it or not. Your attention, your focus, your awareness. This is not just mental activity. This is God in action. Because God is consciousness, and wherever consciousness focuses, creation follows. Listen carefully. Everything you experience in your life, every single thing, is a direct reflection of where your attention has been dwelling. Not where you hoped it would dwell, not where you wished it would go, but where it actually rested, day after day, thought after thought. Your life right now is a perfect mirror of your habitual focus. Look around you. Your relationships, your finances, your health, your emotional state, all of it is the harvest of what you have been mentally feeding. And if you don't like what you're harvesting, you must stop watering those seeds. Because attention is not passive. Attention is creative fire. Let me tell you something. Most people never understand you are not reacting to the world. The world is reacting to you. You think you're a victim of circumstances. You think life is happening to you. You think you're at the mercy of conditions, people, economy, fate. But I tell you, life is not happening to you. Life is responding to you. Every experience, every event, every person you encounter is a reflection of your dominant inner focus. Not sometimes, always. Without exception, your attention is the creative power that shapes worlds. Every time you think about something, you feed it energy. Every time you dwell on an idea, you give it life. Every time you return your mind to a thought, you water that seed, and whatever you water grows. You might not see the results instantly. Seeds don't sprout the moment you plant them. But make no mistake, what you're focusing on right now is growing beneath the surface of your awareness, preparing to break through into your visible world. This is why the quality of your attention determines the quality of your life. Most people live with scattered attention. Their mind jumps from worry to desire, from fear to hope, from what they want to what they dread, and they wonder why their life feels chaotic, unstable, unpredictable. But the person who learns to steady their attention, to direct it deliberately toward a single vision, and hold it there, that person becomes a master of destiny. Here's what you must understand. The inner world always precedes the outer world. Always. You cannot change your circumstances by fighting with them. You cannot change your life by battling with conditions. You can only change your life by changing your inner focus. Your outer world is a screen. Your inner world is the projector. The images on the screen, your circumstances, are simply projections of the film inside the projector. If you don't like what's playing on the screen, you don't attack the screen. You don't fight with the images. You change the film. You change what's running inside the projector. Your consciousness, your attention, your habitual focus. This is the secret. You are the projector, not the screen. Most people have this backwards. They try to change the screen while leaving the projector untouched. They fight with their circumstances while their inner focus remains fixed on lack, limitation, fear. And they wonder why nothing changes. But when you change the film, when you shift your attention from what you don't want to what you do want, the screen must change. It has no choice, because the outer world is only a reflection of the inner. Let me show you how this works in your daily life. Suppose you're struggling financially. Your natural reaction is to think constantly about how little you have, how expensive everything is, how unfair life feels, how you'll never get ahead. Every one of those thoughts is an investment of attention into the consciousness of lack. The more you notice lack, the more you feel it. The more you feel it, the more you attract situations that confirm it. You are unknowingly feeding the very condition you want to escape. You are watering weeds and wondering why flowers don't bloom. Now imagine instead that you deliberately shift your focus, not by denying your current circumstances, but by refusing to give them your creative attention. You begin to notice signs of provision. However small, the roof over your head, the meal you're eating, the opportunities available to you. You imagine financial ease. You feel gratitude for what you have. You dwell in the consciousness of abundance, and you hold that focus steady. What happens? New ideas begin to come. Opportunities appear. Synchronicities unfold. The path opens. Nothing mystical occurred. Your attention simply started flowing in a new direction. You stopped feeding the consciousness of lack and started feeding the consciousness of abundance. And abundance consciousness creates abundant conditions. This is law. Your attention is a magnet that draws to you whatever matches its vibration. You cannot focus on problems and attract solutions. You cannot dwell on lack and attract abundance. You cannot feed thoughts of loneliness and attract love. The universe doesn't understand, I don't want this. It only responds to the feeling you radiate, the consciousness you occupy, the attention you give. When you say, I don't want to be poor, you are still focusing on poverty. You're still giving attention to lack. You're still feeding that consciousness with your mental energy. And what you feed grows. This is why resistance doesn't work. When you resist something, you make it real to yourself. Resistance says this thing has power over me. Resistance is still attention. The truly powerful person doesn't resist. They redirect. They calmly withdraw attention from what they don't want and place it entirely on what they do want. They stop watering weeds and start watering flowers. And the weeds, deprived of attention, wither and die. Most people waste their creative power by worrying. They believe that by worrying they're somehow preparing for disaster, protecting themselves from harm, being realistic. But worry is not preparation. Worry is creation. Every time you worry about something, you are impressing that image on your subconscious mind. You are telling your creative power, this is what I expect. Bring me this. And because expectation is magnetic, because consciousness creates reality, your worry manifests. Not because worry is powerful, but because attention is powerful. And worry is focused attention on an unwanted outcome. You are creating what you fear by giving it your mental energy. Stop it. If you must think about the future, think about it going well. Imagine success. Feel the relief of things working out. Dwell in the consciousness of triumph, not tragedy. Because whatever consciousness you dwell in, you impress upon your subconscious. And your subconscious, your father, the creative power within you, brings forth conditions that match that impression. So how do you master this? How do you take control of your attention and use it to create the life you desire? First, become aware of where your attention goes when your mind is idle. Most people never notice. Their thoughts drift automatically to worry, doubt, regret, fear. And they wonder why their life reflects those states. But you must become conscious. When your mind is idle, where does it go? Do you drift into lack or into abundance, into fear or into faith, into problems or into possibilities? Catch yourself. Notice the drift and gently redirect. This is not about forcing thoughts. This is about choosing them deliberately, the way you choose what clothes to wear. You wouldn't put on dirty, torn clothing and then wonder why people treat you poorly. Yet you put on dirty, fearful thoughts and wonder why life treats you harshly. Choose your thoughts like you choose your clothes. Deliberately, consciously, with intention. Second, refuse to give attention to what weakens you. Every complaint is attention given to what you dislike. Every criticism is energy fed to negativity. Every replay of a painful memory is watering an old wound. Stop doing this. You don't have to fight these thoughts. You don't have to suppress them. You simply redirect. When a worried thought comes, acknowledge it. There's worry, and then choose a different focus. But I am choosing to dwell in peace. When a lack thought surfaces, notice it. There's lack consciousness, and then redirect. But I am dwelling in abundance. This is mastery. Not fighting your thoughts, but directing them. Third, make the shift from resisting what you don't want to focusing on what you do want. Stop fighting against conditions. Stop complaining about circumstances. Stop dwelling on what's wrong. Instead, turn your full attention to the vision of what you desire. See it. Feel it. Dwell in it as though it's already accomplished. This is not pretending. This is impressing. You are impressing your subconscious with the image of your desired reality. And your subconscious, receiving that impression, begins to create conditions that match it. The outer world must follow the inner, always. Now let me take you deeper into the practice of creation through attention. The secret is to feel the desired state as already real. Not I will feel successful when I succeed, but I feel successful now. Not I'll feel loved when someone loves me, but I feel loved now. Not I'll feel abundant when I have money, but I feel abundant now. The feeling must come first, always, because feeling is the language of creation. Thoughts alone don't create. Affirmations without feeling are empty words. But when you feel something deeply, when you dwell in the emotional atmosphere of your desire fulfilled, you impress that pattern on your subconscious, and your subconscious goes to work making it real. Your body cannot tell the difference between a vividly imagined experience and a physical one. When you close your eyes and imagine yourself already living your desired life, seeing the details, hearing the sounds, and most importantly, feeling the emotions, you generate the same energetic signature as the reality you seek, and your subconscious accepts it as real. This is why feeling is the secret, not visualization alone, not affirmation alone, but feeling. When you feel wealthy, you impress wealth consciousness on your subconscious. When you feel loved, you impress love consciousness. When you feel successful, you impress success consciousness. And consciousness creates conditions. So starting tonight, practice this. Close your eyes, forget your current circumstances, and truly feel what it would be like if your desire were already fulfilled. Not what you would do with it, not what it would look like, but how you would feel being the person who already has it. Feel the relief, the joy, the peace, the certainty. Dwell in that feeling until it becomes natural, until it feels more real than your current circumstances. Because the moment that feeling becomes more real to you than your outer conditions must change to match it. This is law. What you're doing when you feel your desire as already real is making an assumption. You're assuming the wish is fulfilled. You're assuming you already are what you want to be. You're assuming the end is accomplished. An assumption, if persisted in, hardens into fact. This is the principle I've been teaching for decades. You don't become what you want, you become what you assume yourself to be. If you assume you're poor, you remain poor, no matter how hard you work. If you assume you're rich, you become rich, even if your current bank account is empty. Because assumption creates reality. Your subconscious doesn't question your assumptions. It simply accepts them and creates conditions that match. If you persistently assume you're successful, your subconscious arranges circumstances, opportunities, and encounters that confirm your success. It must, because that's law. So the question is not, how do I get what I want? The question is, who am I assuming myself to be? If you assume yourself to be lacking, struggling, limited, that's what you'll experience. But if you assume yourself to be abundant, loved, successful, that becomes your reality. Not because you hoped for it, not because you worked for it, but because you assumed it. An assumption creates fact. Now, here's where most people fail. They make the assumption. They feel the wish fulfilled. They dwell in the desired state for a day, maybe a week, and then they look at their circumstances and see no change. Nothing has shifted. The bank account is still the same. The relationship is still absent. The success hasn't appeared, and they think it's not working. So they abandon the assumption and return to the old consciousness of lack, and they wonder why nothing manifests. Listen carefully. Appearances are old reflections of past thinking. What you're seeing right now in your outer world is the harvest of seeds you planted weeks, months, sometimes years ago through your past focus, your past assumptions, your past consciousness. The new seed you just planted, the new assumption you just made, hasn't sprouted yet, but it will, if you persist. The mistake most people make is judging by appearances. They let the outer world dictate their inner state. They see lack and feel lack. They see limitation and accept limitation. But the master does the opposite. The master feels abundance despite seeing lack. The master assumes success despite experiencing delay. The master dwells in the wish fulfilled even when all evidence contradicts it. Why? Because the master knows the inner world creates the outer. not the other way around. So when appearances contradict your assumption, hold your assumption more firmly. Feel it more deeply. Dwell in it more persistently. Do not let the outer world shake your inner conviction. Because the moment you abandon your assumption and return to the old consciousness, you uproot the seed before it can sprout. But if you persist, if you continue to assume the wish fulfilled despite all evidence to the contrary, the outer world must eventually conform. It has no choice, because it has no power of its own. It merely reflects what you are being within. When you truly master this principle, something profound happens. You stop asking for change. You stop begging life to give you what you want. You stop chasing, pursuing, striving. Instead, you embody. You shift your identity from the one who wants to the one who has, from the one who hopes to the one who knows, from the one who seeks to the one who possesses. You no longer wait for something to happen. You live as if it already has. And that shift in consciousness, that assumption of the wish fulfilled, is the creative act itself. When you sustain that feeling, when you persist in that assumption, life begins to rearrange itself around you. The right people appear. The right opportunities open. Even obstacles seem to dissolve. Not because you forced anything, but because you allowed everything by dwelling in the consciousness of fulfillment. You stopped resisting. You stopped fighting. You stopped waiting. You simply became. And the world, having no power to resist your assumption, yielded to it. Tonight, before you sleep, I want you to practice this principle. Forget everything I've said if you must. But remember this one thing, feel your wish fulfilled. Close your eyes, quiet your mind, and enter the feeling, the actual feeling of your desire being already accomplished. Not tomorrow, not someday. Now, if you desire wealth, feel wealthy. Let that feeling fill your entire being. Don't visualize money. Feel the consciousness of abundance. Feel provided for. Feel free from financial worry. Feel rich. If you desire love, feel loved. Don't imagine a person. Feel the warmth, the security, the joy of being deeply loved and loving deeply in return. If you desire success, feel successful. Feel the quiet confidence of someone who has already achieved. Feel the relief of it being done. Dwell in that feeling. Saturate yourself with it. Let it become more real to you than your current circumstances. And fall asleep in that consciousness. Impress it on your subconscious as you drift into sleep. Let it be the last thing your conscious mind dwells on before surrendering to sleep. Because sleep is the door to the subconscious. And what you impress upon the subconscious in that drowsy state takes root powerfully. Tomorrow, wake as that person. The person who already has the desire. Don't check to see if it manifested. You already know it's yours in consciousness, and that's the only place it needs to be for now. Move through your day from that assumption. Think from it, speak from it, act from it, and persist in it day after day, until it becomes so natural that you forget you're assuming it, until it becomes simply who you are. When you do this, when you truly shift your attention from lack to fulfillment, from wanting to having, from seeking to being, everything changes. Not because you manipulated the universe, not because you got lucky, not because circumstances suddenly shifted, but because you changed in consciousness. And changed consciousness creates changed conditions. Your focus is God. Your attention is creative power. Whatever you dwell on, you bring into being. So choose carefully where you place your focus. Choose deliberately what you give your attention to. Choose consciously what you assume yourself to be. Because that choice, that simple choice of where you rest your attention, determines your entire destiny. The world has no power over you. Circumstances have no power over you. People have no power over you. Only your attention has power, and you control your attention. You are the projector, not the screen. You are the creator, not the victim. You are consciousness itself, exploring its own infinite creative power through the focus of attention. So from this moment forward, refuse to give attention to what you don't want. Refuse to dwell on lack, limitation, fear. Instead, place your full attention on what you desire as though it's already accomplished. Feel it, assume it, become it in consciousness, and watch as your outer world, which has no choice but to follow your inner world, rearranges itself to match. This is law. This is truth. This is the secret of all creation. Your focus is God. Use it wisely. Everything you experience is a reflection of where your attention has been dwelling. You are not reacting to the world is reacting to you. Your attention is not passive mental activity, it is creative fire, God in action. Change your focus from what you don't want to what you do want. Feel it is already accomplished and persist in that assumption until the outer world conforms. This is Best of Lectures. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.
Who are you if you already won millions? Who are you, but not who you think you are based on your current circumstances? Not who your bank account says you are. Not who your struggles have convinced you that you are. Who are you if you already won millions? How do you stand when abundance is your natural state? How do you walk when every step is taken with the confidence of someone who knows they are financially free? What thoughts run through your mind as you wake in the morning, knowing that wealth flows endlessly to you, like a river that never runs dry? Feel into this for a moment. Don't think about it. Feel it. You see, here's the secret that will transform your entire existence. You must not wait for evidence before you believe. The evidence appears only when you first accept your wealth as real. This isn't just positive thinking. This is the fundamental law of creation itself. Wealth is not merely numbers dancing in your bank account. It's not just the accumulation of paper and coins. Wealth is a state of being, a way of existing in the world. And the moment you step into that state completely, the entire universe bends to reflect it back to you. Consider for a moment, really contemplate this, how someone who already won millions moves through life. Do they worry about whether they'll have enough? Do they doubt their ability to handle any financial situation? Do they wake up with that familiar knot of anxiety in their stomach? No, they expect, they receive. They carry themselves with an unshakable confidence, because they know, deep in their bones, that they are rich. Not because they hope to be rich. Not because they're working toward being rich. Because they are rich. It's not a goal, it's their identity. Think about the last time you heard someone talk about winning the lottery. Notice how their entire energy shifts just imagining it. Their shoulders straighten. Their voice becomes more confident. Their eyes light up with possibility. That's the energy you must carry every single day. If you wish to manifest millions, you must first feel like you've already won them. Not tomorrow when the check comes. Not next week when the opportunity appears. Not when circumstances finally align in your favor. Now, in this very moment, you must assume the feeling of one who already has everything they desire. Close your eyes and feel what it's like to be completely financially free right now. Feel the peace. Feel the confidence. Feel the joy. This is not fantasy. This is not wishful thinking. This is the exact state of being that creates your reality. When you move through your day, carry yourself with the quiet confidence of a millionaire, not with arrogance, because that's the desperate energy of someone trying to convince others of what they don't truly believe themselves. True confidence is quiet, assured, unshakable. When you look at a price tag, do not shrink in hesitation. Do not let that familiar fear grip your chest. Instead, mentally affirm with complete conviction, I can afford anything I desire. But here's what's crucial. Even if your outer world has not yet changed, even if your bank account still shows the same numbers, your inner shift will demand a reflection. Your only task is to remain faithful to this assumption. The moment you assume the state of having won millions, unseen forces begin working on your behalf. Forces you cannot see, understand, or control. These forces are more powerful than any strategy, more effective than any plan, more reliable than any system. Imagine for a moment that you just received the call, the life-changing call. You've won. The money is yours. How would you feel in that moment? That rush of excitement, that overwhelming sense of relief, that deep knowing that everything has changed forever. That feeling is what you must carry with you every single day. The people you need to meet will cross your path. The opportunities that will change everything will present themselves. The events necessary for your wealth's fulfillment will be drawn to you as effortlessly as the tide is drawn to the shore. But here's the test, and this is where most people fail. You must persist even when doubt whispers its poison. Doubt will come. It will say to you, "This isn't working." Look around you, nothing has changed. You're fooling yourself. People don't just win millions out of nowhere. Circumstances may seem to mock your assumption. Bills may still arrive. Challenges may still appear. The outer world may seem to scream, "You're not wealthy. Look at your reality." But you must remember that the outer world is merely a delayed mirror, reflecting your past assumptions, your old beliefs, your former state of being. It's showing you who you were, not who you are becoming. Think of it this way. If you were watching a movie and didn't like what was happening on screen, would you try to change the screen, or would you change the projector? Your thoughts, your feelings, your assumptions, these are the projector. The world around you is just the screen. Keep your new assumption alive. Feed it with feeling. Strengthen it with certainty. Protect it from doubt like a mother protecting her child. And soon, sooner than you think, the evidence will appear before your very eyes. And when it does, you'll realize something profound. You are not trying to become wealthy. You are wealthy. You are not waiting to receive millions. You have millions. It is already done. Live as though it were impossible to fail. Because there is a truth so simple, yet so profound, that once you truly understand it, it will change the way you move through life forever. Your world is nothing more than a reflection of your inner state. Everything you see, everything you touch, everything you experience first began as an idea within the mind. The unseen gives birth to the seen. The intangible shapes the tangible. And what you assume to be true, whether consciously or unconsciously, becomes the foundation upon which your entire life is built. Look around you right now. Really look. The circumstances that surround you, the people in your life, the opportunities that come or elude you, the wealth or lack thereof, all are manifestations of your inner world. They are the crystallized results of thoughts you have entertained, feelings you have nurtured, and beliefs you have accepted as reality. And your emotions are not mere reactions to the world around you. They are the creative force that shapes your reality. Every moment, you are vibrating at a particular frequency, and life responds to that frequency by bringing you experiences that match it. This is why two people in identical situations can have completely different outcomes. One person radiates confidence and abundance, while the other emanates fear and lack. Their external worlds reflect their internal states. If you feel lack, you create more of it. If you feel abundance, you call abundance to you. It is that simple, and it is that profound. Your emotions do not lie. They reveal the assumptions you hold about life. When you feel anxious about money, it's because you assume money is scarce. When you feel worried about the future, it's because you assume you're not capable of handling whatever comes. But if you could shift your emotional state, if you could generate the feeling of already having won millions, you would see how effortlessly life rearranges itself to match your new vibration. Most people live reactively. They let the outer world dictate how they feel. If they see money in their bank account, they feel secure. If they receive good news, they feel optimistic. If an opportunity presents itself, they feel hopeful. But this is backwards. You must feel first, and then the outer world will adjust accordingly. Imagine waking up every morning feeling like you've already won millions, regardless of what your financial situation appears to be. You walk through your day with a quiet confidence, knowing that all your needs are met. You do not panic over expenses. You do not hesitate when making choices. You do not entertain thoughts of scarcity. Your emotional state is one of certainty, of ease, of absolute trust, that abundance is already yours. If you could maintain this feeling consistently, your external world would have no choice but to reflect it back to you. The key is to train yourself to feel ahead of the evidence. Do not wait for circumstances to change before you allow yourself to feel joy, success, and security. Feel them now. Act as if you have already won, and the winning will follow. One of the greatest obstacles to winning millions is the tendency to obsess over when and how it will happen. The logical mind seeks certainty, needing to know every step, every detail, every possible route from here to fulfillment. But this fixation on the how and when only creates resistance. It keeps you trapped in a state of doubt and limitation. When you try to control the process, you signal to the universe that you do not truly trust in the power of your assumption. And what you do not trust, you push away. The unseen forces that shape reality do not operate by human logic. They do not require your interference or your management. They are far more intelligent, far more capable, far more creative than your limited mind can comprehend. Consider a farmer who plants a seed in the earth. He does not sit beside it, digging it up every hour to check its progress. He does not demand to know exactly how each root will form, how each leaf will sprout, or how the rain and sun will work together to bring it to fruition. He simply trusts that, in due time, the seed will become what it was always meant to be. This is the attitude you must adopt. You have planted the seed of your desire in the soil of imagination. If you constantly question how it will grow, you disrupt the natural process. But if you leave it undisturbed, nourishing it only with faith and persistence, it must manifest. Your only task is to persist in the assumption that what you desire is already yours. Everything else is irrelevant. Think of someone who has already won millions. Do they concern themselves with how it happened? Do they anxiously try to piece together the events that led to their windfall? No, they simply enjoy it. They live in the reality of having, not questioning or doubting its presence. This is the state you must embody before the evidence arrives. You do not need to know how your millions will come. You do not need to map out the exact sequence of events that will lead you to your goal. Release the need to control. Let go of the constant questioning. Move with the quiet confidence of one who knows that their success is inevitable. If you wish to manifest millions, you must align every word you speak and every action you take with the reality of one who already possesses them. Most people speak from their current circumstances rather than from the state they wish to embody. They say things like, "I can't afford that. Money is so hard to come by," or "I'm always struggling." Every time they affirm these beliefs, they reinforce their current financial reality. The universe simply mirrors what they declare as truth. Your words carry creative power. They are declarations of what you accept as real. Instead of saying, "I can't afford it," say, "That's not a priority for me right now." Instead of saying, "I'm broke," say, "Wealth is flowing to me in ways I cannot yet see." Instead of saying, "Money is tight," say, "I am grateful for the abundance that surrounds me." You must speak as though your millions are already yours. But words alone are not enough. Your actions must reflect your new state as well. How does someone who won millions move through life? Do they hesitate over small purchases? Do they feel anxious about spending money? Do they approach opportunities with fear and doubt? No. They carry themselves with confidence. They invest in themselves without hesitation. They trust that their resources will always replenish. This does not mean reckless spending. It means adopting the mindset of financial security before the evidence arrives. It means treating money as an abundant, ever-flowing resource, rather than something scarce and fleeting. The way you carry yourself also speaks volumes. Do you walk with the posture of one who is weighed down by financial stress? Or do you move with the ease and confidence of a person who knows they've already won? Do you dress and present yourself with care? Or do you let your outer appearance reflect a belief in lack? Every detail matters, because every detail reinforces an assumption. Each day, ask yourself, would someone who won millions say this? Would they act this way? Would they hesitate in this moment? And then adjust accordingly. The greatest test of your ability to manifest millions is your persistence in the face of doubt. It is easy to believe when everything appears to be working in your favor, when signs seem to affirm that your assumption is taking shape. But what will you do when the physical world shows no evidence of change? What will you do when old fears and doubts creep in, whispering that perhaps this is not working, that maybe you are fooling yourself? This is where most people fail. Not because their desires are impossible, but because they waver in their faith before the unseen becomes seen. The moment you assume a new state of being, reality begins shifting. But because physical manifestation follows an unseen process, there is often a delay between assumption and realization. This delay is not a sign of failure. It is simply the natural unfolding of events. Most people misinterpret this period of transition as proof that their efforts are in vain. In their impatience, they return to old thoughts, old doubts, and old emotional reactions, undoing the very progress they had made. You must be different. You must persist until it is done. There can be no half-hearted attempts, no wavering back and forth between belief and disbelief. If you have chosen the state of having won millions, then that is the state you must occupy mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, no matter what appears before you. When doubts arise, as they inevitably will, do not resist them with fear. Instead, observe them with detachment, knowing they are remnants of an old state that no longer belongs to you. Let them pass through your awareness without giving them power. Affirm to yourself, this is already done. My millions are inevitable. The world is simply catching up to my assumption. Consider a sculptor who is committed to carving a masterpiece from a block of stone. He does not stop midway simply because he cannot yet see the final form. He does not abandon his work because in the beginning it looks nothing like the vision he holds in his mind. He persists, chiseling away, refining his creation until the masterpiece emerges. This is how you must treat your assumption. You must hold on to it, unwavering, until it hardens into fact. There is a profound difference between wishing to win millions and living as if you already have. Wishing implies separation. It acknowledges the absence of what you desire. It keeps you in a state of wanting, of lacking, of being without. But to embody the state of having won, to live from the end, is to collapse the gap between you and your desire. It is to step into the feeling of fulfillment now, before the evidence appears, knowing with absolute certainty that the outer world must eventually conform. Most people spend their entire lives hoping, yearning, and waiting for their millions to materialize. They don't realize that this very state of longing keeps them trapped in lack like quicksand. They wake up thinking about what they do not have. They move through the day, reinforcing the idea that they are still waiting. They go to sleep feeling as though their desires are just beyond their reach. Always tomorrow, always just out of grasp. And so the cycle continues, year after year, decade after decade. But what if you no longer wished? What if instead you assumed the role of one who already won millions? How would you think if you had already won? How would you feel as you moved through your day? How would you carry yourself in the world? Would you still dwell in doubt about your financial security? Would you still fear the future? Would you still hesitate when opportunities presented themselves? No, you would move with a quiet confidence, with an unshakable knowing that everything you desire is already yours. This is the key to become what you seek before it physically appears, not through pretense, not through arrogance, but through the deep, quiet certainty that your assumption is reality. What you hold in consciousness, whether in fear or in faith, will harden into fact. The process is always at work, whether you realize it or not. You cannot stop it any more than you can stop your heart from beating. You cannot stop imagining, for imagination is the very essence of your being. But you can become aware of how you use this incredible power. Ask yourself honestly, are you imagining worst-case scenarios? Are you constantly affirming struggle and limitation? Are you replaying past disappointments in your mind like a broken record? If so, do not be surprised when these experiences continue to repeat themselves in your reality. You are not a victim of circumstance. You are the unconscious creator of it. To change your life, you must first change your assumption of what is possible. Begin by seeing yourself as already possessing that which you desire. Do not wait for proof. The proof will come after the assumption is made. The moment you let go of doubt and fully embrace the reality you seek, it will begin to unfold before you in ways you never expected. Your life is not determined by external circumstances. It is determined by the thoughts you consistently hold, the feelings you regularly entertain, the beliefs you accept as truth. So make a decision now. Will you allow temporary appearances to dictate your belief, or will you persist in the unseen until it becomes seen? Will you waver in moments of doubt, or will you stand firm in your conviction? The choice is yours, but know this. The universe does not deny what you persist in assuming is true. If you refuse to entertain any reality other than the one you desire, if you remain unwavering in your assumption, then the world must conform. There is no other possibility. So persist. Persist through the silence. Persist through the doubts. Persist through every appearance that tries to convince you otherwise. Because the moment you refuse to turn back, the moment you make the decision that you have already won millions, it is done. Everything you seek, wealth, success, abundance, already exists within you. Your imagination is the key, shaping your reality through your assumptions. By living from the end, feeling the emotions of already having won millions, and detaching from the when and how, you align yourself with the reality you wish to experience. Your words and actions must reflect this truth, reinforcing your belief until it becomes unshakable. And above all, you must persist, refusing to waver, refusing to return to the old self, until your assumption hardens into fact. The world is simply a reflection of your inner state. When you truly embody the wealth you seek, when you walk, speak, and move with the confidence of one who already won millions, the outer world must conform. There is no other outcome. So stand firm in your belief, stay faithful to your vision, and watch as the unseen forces arrange everything in your favor. Your millions are not a dream. They are not a hope. They are not a possibility. They are a certainty. The only question that remains is how quickly will you step into it completely. Take a deep breath. Feel the truth of these words settling into your bones. Feel the certainty that your abundance is inevitable. This is your moment. This is your time. Your millions are done. Act as if you already won millions, because you have.
My dear friends, tonight I want to speak to you about a prison. Not one made of bars or walls, but one far more binding. A prison constructed entirely of your own acceptance of the evidence of your senses. You see, most of humanity lives their entire life imprisoned in what we call the three-dimensional world. They wake each morning, open their eyes, and immediately surrender their power to what they see, what they hear, what they touch. They believe that this world of Caesar, this world of effects, is the cause of their experience. And in that belief, they become its prisoner. But I tell you tonight, and I tell you with complete conviction, you are not meant to live as a reactor to the three-dimensional world. You were born to be its creator. The moment you understand this, truly understand it, the prison walls dissolve and you step into the freedom that has always been yours. Let me explain what I mean by this trap. For it is subtle, and it has ensnared nearly everyone who walks this earth. You have a desire, perhaps it's for wealth, for health, for love, for recognition. And in a moment of inspiration, you turn within. You use your imagination. You feel it real. You assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. And in that glorious moment, you touch something true. You touch power. You touch creation itself. But then, and this is where the trap springs, you open your eyes and return to the world of Caesar. You look at your bank account, and it shows lack. You look at your body, and it shows illness. You look at your relationships, and they reflect loneliness. And what do? You react. You say to yourself, well, I tried that imagination thing, but look, nothing has changed. The facts are still the facts. And in that moment of reaction, in that moment of bowing to the evidence of your senses, you have re-imprisoned yourself. You have made the three-dimensional world your God. Now, I must make something clear to you, for this is where most people stumble and fall. There is always a gap, what I call an interval, between your assumption in imagination and its manifestation in the three-dimensional world. Always. This is not a flaw in the law. This is not evidence that imagination doesn't work. This interval exists for a very specific reason. Think of it this way. When you plant a seed in the ground, you don't dig it up the next day to see if it's growing. You know there is a period of gestation, a time during which the invisible work is being done beneath the surface. You water it, you tend it, and you wait with confidence, knowing that in due time the sprout will appear. Your imagination works the same way. When you assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you have planted a seed in the invisible realm of consciousness. That seed is now growing, developing, preparing to break through into the visible world. But it needs time. And more importantly, it needs your fidelity. The three-dimensional world you see at this moment is nothing more than the fruit of seeds you planted weeks, months, perhaps even years ago through your habitual thinking and feeling. It is yesterday's crop. It is the past, frozen in time, appearing before you as solid reality. But it is not your future. It is not what you are creating now. It is only what you have already created. Here is the great deception. Your senses tell you that what you see, hear, and touch is reality. And because your senses are so convincing, so immediate, so persistent in their testimony, you believe them. Your eyes show you poverty, and you believe you are poor. Your body feels pain, and you believe you are sick. Your circumstances show you alone, and you believe you are unloved. But I tell you, your senses are liars. Not in the sense that they don't accurately report what is there, they do. But they lie in their claim to be the final authority on what is real and what is possible. They lie when they suggest that the visible world is the cause rather than the effect. Scripture tells us, we walk by faith, not by sight. Do you know what that means? It means we must learn to trust the invisible reality of our imagination more than the visible reality of our senses. We must learn to give greater weight to what we assume in consciousness than to what appears in the world of effects. This is the hardest thing for the human being to do, because the three-dimensional world is loud. It is insistent. It demands your attention and your agreement. And the moment you give it that agreement, the moment you say, yes, this is reality, this is the truth of my situation, you have imprisoned yourself once again. Now let me tell you something that will help you understand why this trap is so powerful and how you can escape it. Within you are two minds, though you experience yourself as one being. I call them the outer mind and the inner mind. But you might also think of them as the mind of the senses and the mind of imagination. The outer mind, the mind of the senses, lives entirely in the three-dimensional world. It observes, it analyzes, it judges based on what it perceives. It is logical, practical, concerned with survival. It wants proof before it will believe. It scans the visible world constantly, looking for confirmation that things are going well or going poorly. This mind is not your enemy, but it is not your master either. It is a servant that has forgotten its place and has set itself up as king. The inner mind, the mind of imagination, is where your true power resides. This is the mind that creates. This is the consciousness that preceded the world and brought it into being. In the beginning was the Word, Scripture tells us. The Word is your imagination, your I am, your consciousness itself. When these two minds are in conflict, when the outer mind contradicts what the inner mind has assumed, you experience what feels like a crisis. The outer mind says, look at the facts. You don't have the money. The inner mind says, I am wealthy. The outer mind says, look at your body. You are sick. The inner mind says, I am healthy. And you must choose which mind you will serve, which mind you will give your loyalty to. Most people, without even realizing they're doing it, choose the outer mind. They choose the evidence of the senses. They choose the testimony of the three-dimensional world. And in that choice, they remain imprisoned, creating and recreating the same reality they're trying to escape. Let me tell you plainly what the three-dimensional world is. For when you understand its true nature, its power over you will dissolve. The three-dimensional world is shadow. It is echo. It is reflection. Think of it as a mirror. When you stand before a mirror, you see your reflection. If you don't like what you see, would you try to change the reflection directly? Would you reach toward the mirror and try to rearrange the image? Of course not. That would be madness. You know instinctively that to change the reflection, you must change what is being reflected. You must change yourself, and the mirror has no choice but to show the new image. The three-dimensional world is exactly the same. It is a perfect mirror of your consciousness, of your habitual dwelling place in imagination. If you don't like what you see in the world, you cannot change it by manipulating the world. You can only change it by changing your consciousness, by changing what you are assuming to be true about yourself. When you argue with the three-dimensional world, when you try to fix it, manipulate it, force it to be different, you are arguing with a shadow. You are trying to manipulate a reflection, and shadows and reflections have no power to resist, but they also have no power to change until you change. Here is where I must be very direct with you, for this is where most people lose their way. When the three-dimensional world shows you something you don't like, you are tempted to negotiate with it. You are tempted to make deals, to compromise, to adjust your vision to match what you see. You say things like, well, maybe I can't have the whole thing, but perhaps I can have part of it. Or maybe my desire was too big, too unrealistic. Let me adjust it to something more reasonable. Or maybe this is a sign that I should give up and accept my circumstances. Every one of these thoughts is a negotiation with the three-dimensional world. And I tell you now, the moment you negotiate with the 3D, you have given it authority over your imagination. You have made the effect more real than the cause. You have bowed down to Caesar and forgotten that you are the operant power. Do not negotiate with the three-dimensional world. Let me say that again because it is crucial. Do not negotiate with the three-dimensional world. When circumstances press in, when the facts scream at you, when the evidence of your senses overwhelms you, you must stand firm in your assumption. You must remain loyal to the invisible state you have claimed in imagination. This is not stubbornness. This is not denial of reality. This is understanding which reality is cause and which is effect. This is knowing that consciousness is the only reality, and all else is its shadow. Now, how do you practically do this? How do you stop reacting to the three-dimensional world when it appears so real, so solid, so unchangeable? First, you must catch yourself in the act of reacting. You must become aware of the moment when you see something unwanted and feel yourself beginning to accept it as truth, beginning to adjust your inner state to match the outer facts. The moment you notice this happening, and you will notice it more and more as you become conscious of it, you pause. You do not move forward in reaction. You do not let the outer dictate to the inner. Instead, you ask yourself, is this evidence of who I was or who I now am? That single question will cut through the illusion. It will remind you that what you see in the three-dimensional world is always old news. It is the harvest of seeds you planted in the past through your previous assumptions. It has nothing to do with who you have become in imagination now. If you have assumed wealth in your imagination, then you are wealthy in consciousness, regardless of what your bank account currently shows. The bank account is showing you who you were. Your imagination is showing you who you are. And between these two, you must choose which one you will give reality to. Let me give you a practical tool that has proven invaluable to those who practice it faithfully. Revision. When something happens in your three-dimensional world that contradicts your assumption, when you receive bad news, when circumstances appear to move in the wrong direction, when people act in ways that deny your fulfilled desire, do not accept it. Instead, immediately revise it in your imagination. If you receive a rejection letter, sit quietly, close your eyes, and imagine receiving an acceptance letter. Feel it in your hands. Read the words of approval and enthusiasm. Make it vivid and real in your imagination. If someone speaks to you harshly, denying your worth, immediately replay the scene in your imagination, with them speaking to you with respect and kindness. Hear their voice saying what you would have heard had the world been as you desire. This is not pretending. This is not make-believe. This is exercising your power as the creator of your reality. You are refusing to let the three-dimensional world write your story. You are taking the pen back and writing the story yourself. Every time you revise, you are saying to the universe, to the three-dimensional world, no, I do not accept this version. This is not consistent with who I am in my imagination, and therefore it is not my reality. And when you persist in this, when you refuse to negotiate, when you consistently choose your imaginal state over the evidence of your senses, the three-dimensional world has no choice but to conform. I want you to understand something fundamental. You are not a victim of the three-dimensional world. You are its cause. Consciousness is the only reality. I have said this countless times, but I will say it again because it is the foundation of everything. Consciousness is the only reality, and all else is its manifestation. You are consciousness. You are the I am. You are not the body that walks through this three-dimensional world. You are not the personality with its history and its limitations. You are the eternal awareness, the imaging power, the very presence of God individualized. When you know this, not as a concept, but as a living truth, you cannot be imprisoned by anything external. How can that which creates the world be imprisoned by its own creation? The three-dimensional world has no power except the power you give it through your belief, through your reaction, through your acceptance of its testimony as final. The moment you withdraw that power, the moment you refuse to bow to its authority, it loses its grip on you. It becomes what it has always been, clay in the hands of consciousness, waiting to be molded into whatever form consciousness assumes. Now let me tell you the secret of escaping this prison permanently. You must live from the end. What does this mean? It means you must assume the consciousness of your wish already fulfilled, and live in that assumption as though it were already a fact in the three-dimensional world, even when all evidence denies it. If you desire wealth, you do not imagine yourself becoming wealthy. You imagine from the state of being wealthy. You assume the feeling of wealth now. You think as the wealthy man thinks. You speak as the wealthy man speaks. You carry yourself as the wealthy man carries himself. You do this not as an act, not as a performance, but as an assumption of truth. You are not pretending to be wealthy while secretly knowing you are poor. You are claiming wealth in consciousness, and you are remaining loyal to that claim regardless of what the three-dimensional mirror currently reflects. This is what I mean by living from the end. You skip over all the means, all the process, all the how, and you go straight to the end, to the fulfillment of your desire. You assume it is already done, and you live in that assumption. The three-dimensional world will test you. It will show you evidence that contradicts your assumption. It will present you with circumstances that seem to make your desire impossible. This is not the universe punishing you or denying you. This is simply the old reflection still playing out while the new one is being formed. Your job is to remain faithful to the new assumption, to continue living from the end, to refuse to negotiate with the old reality. And in time, in God's time, which is always perfect, the three-dimensional world will rearrange itself to match your assumption. It must. It has no choice. Because consciousness is cause and the world is effect. There comes a moment in every person's journey when they finally understand that they are not trapped in the three-dimensional world at all, that the prison was always an illusion, maintained only by their belief in it. When you reach that moment, and you will if you persist, you will laugh at how seriously you once took the evidence of your senses. You will marvel at how you allowed shadows to frighten you, how you let reflections convince you of their permanence. You will realize that you were never imprisoned. You simply believed you were, and that belief created the experience of imprisonment. The truth is, you have always been free. You have always been the operant power. You have always been the creator standing behind the mirror, capable of changing the reflection at will. The three-dimensional world has never had power over you. You gave it power through your acceptance of its verdict as final. And the moment you withdraw that acceptance, the moment you reclaim your authority as consciousness itself, the prison walls dissolve. Let me give you a practice to take with you from tonight's lecture. Tomorrow morning when you wake, before you open your eyes, before you allow the three-dimensional world to flood in with its facts and circumstances, take a moment to remember who you are. Say to yourself, I am the operant power, I am consciousness, and consciousness is the only reality. The world I see is my creation, and I can change it by changing my assumptions. Then throughout the day, whenever you are tempted to react to something in the three-dimensional world, whenever you feel yourself beginning to negotiate with circumstances, remember this. You are not in the world. The world is in you. You contain it all. You are not a small being trying to manipulate a large indifferent universe. You are consciousness itself, and the universe is your own wonderful human imagination pushed out. When you receive news that contradicts your assumption, say quietly to yourself, this is who I was, not who I am. I do not negotiate with yesterday. I remain in my chosen state. When your senses show you lack, remember that they are showing you the past. Turn within and feel abundance now. Do not wait for the three-dimensional proof. Be abundant in consciousness, and let the proof follow. When people act in ways that deny your fulfilled desire, do not argue with them. Do not try to convince them. Simply revise the interaction in your imagination. See them and hear them responding to you as they would respond to the person you have become in imagination. This is not difficult. It requires no special talent or ability. It requires only persistence, only loyalty to your imaginal state, only refusal to bow to the tyranny of facts. I must warn you, you will be tested, not by some external force, not by a punishing God, but by the simple mechanics of creation. The three-dimensional world will continue to reflect your old assumptions for a time after you have changed them. This is the interval I spoke of earlier, the gap between planting and harvest. During this interval, you will be tempted to doubt. You will be tempted to think that your new assumption isn't working, that imagination isn't powerful enough, that perhaps you should return to trying to manipulate the outer world. This is the test. This is where most people fail. They remain in their new state for a day, perhaps a week, perhaps even a month. But when the three-dimensional world doesn't immediately reflect the change, they fold. They return to the old state. They begin to negotiate. And in doing so, they plant the old seed again. They recreate the very reality they were trying to escape. Do not make this mistake. Persist, remain faithful. Stay loyal to your assumption regardless of what you see, regardless of how long it takes, regardless of how loudly the three-dimensional world protests. I promise you, on the authority of my own experience and the experience of countless others who have proven this law, if you persist, if you refuse to negotiate, if you remain in the state of the wish fulfilled, the three-dimensional world will conform. It must conform, because it has no choice, because it is not the cause you are. Tonight I have told you that you are trapped in 3D, but the moment you truly hear this message, the moment you truly understand it, you are no longer trapped, because the trap exists only in your belief. The three-dimensional world is not your prison. Your acceptance of it as final authority is your prison. And you hold the key. You have always held the key. That key is your imagination, your consciousness, your I am. Use it. Claim your desire in imagination. Feel it as real now, not in some distant future. Assume the state of the wish fulfilled. And then, and this is crucial, remain in that state, no matter what the three-dimensional world shows you. Do not negotiate with appearances. Do not make deals with circumstances. Do not adjust your vision to match the mirror. Instead, hold your vision firm and watch as the mirror adjusts to match you. You are not meant to be a prisoner of the world. You are meant to be its creator, its master, its operant power. And the moment you step into that truth, the moment you refuse to give the three-dimensional world authority over your consciousness, you are free. Free to create, free to imagine, free to become anything you desire to be. The prison has no walls. It never did. Walk out. You are free. Thank you and good evening. This is Best of Lectures. I will see you in the next video.